Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Learning Torah Lishma. You know, in the Haftarah of Shmini, Parsha Shmini, we see the story of Dovid hamelech. Dovid hamelech, is one of the characters in Tanakh, which it's hard to understand how someone could go through so much and not be faced and only become stronger because of it. My puppy has this game, when Mashiach comes, who do you want to meet first? So my puppy, she wants to meet Moshe Rabbeinu, happens to be my name. For me, the person I think about is Dovid hamelech. Dovid hamelech, he literally had no chance. People thought he was a mamzer. People thought that at that time they thought that Ammon and Moab was usher to marry into them, and it was they just sent him off with the sheep. They didn't want to be around him. He was embarrassing to be around. They sent him away, and this is Dovid hamelech, just alone in the world, nobody around him, and you would think such a person, he would lose it, but he didn't. Dovid hamelech somehow comes out of there and writes the Sefer Tehillim all the way up to 75 chapters. He writes in Sefer Tehillim. He comes out this huge giant, and think about it. Dovid hamelech, his father Yishai, is one of the 4 people that never sinned. He has a son, Kilav, that never sinned. So he has his father that never sinned, his son that never sinned, but we don't hear too much about them. We don't have, we don't have a sefer in Tanakh about them. However, Dovid hamelech, who did sin, we see him how he doesn't give up. Even if he sinned, he doesn't give up. He says, "I will come back to you, Hashem." And that's what he does. Absolutely amazing. It's shocking the level of Dovid hamelech. Whether he's considered people looking at him that he's a bastard, and no one wants to have anything to do with him, or later on when he becomes king and they see that he's not a mamzer and you're allowed to marry into Ammon and Moab, and he becomes the actual king of Klal Yisrael, and then he unfortunately does a few sins, but he picks himself up and he says, "I am going to do tshuva, I am going to return to Hashem, and I love you, Hashem, and I want to be connected to you in every way." This is Dovid hamelech, a character so hard to understand. It proves to someone, whether you're completely ignored by others or whether, God forbid, you have sinned, Hashem is there, Hashem loves you, and He wants you back. He wants you back, and He wants the best from you. How did Dovid hamelech do this? Now, of course, how could we understand Dovid hamelech? He's so great. We could get a little inkling, something a little strength, something there. And we find that Dovid hamelech was a shepherd. They didn't want to have anything to do with him, so they sent him to raise the sheep. Where do you raise sheep? Where no one is, because you need grass. And it needs to be free grass, so it's where no one lives and no one is. And he's there all alone in nature, and that's... and you would think, okay, someone would break in that situation. What does Dovid hamelech do? He takes that situation, he makes it a positive. Dovid hamelech comes, and he sees, he says, he meditates on the world that Hashem has around him, and he realized something perplexing, and that is that everything in the Bria, everything in the creation works with awesome, perfect symmetry. The animals, the trees, the birds, the air, the sun, the moon, the clouds, the sky, everything, the earth, everything works with perfect symmetry. And if you take one thing out of the equation, everything else falls away. David HaMelech sees this, and he sees the chesed Hashem, the kindness of Hashem, how Hashem keeps everything going, and gives, the animals have a good life. Hashem limits the brain. They don't have, what does the chimpanzee do? He shakes his tail, and the women come over. Everything works. Is amazing. There's one thing in the Bria where all evil comes from. Also, a lot of good comes. It depends what the person decides to do. What is that? Mankind. Mankind, which Hashem, the Creator, God, gave them free will, that they could go against His plan. They're the ones that all the evil's coming out of. So, and he would sit alone and he would just meditate on this, and he became extremely strong in understanding that any evil that is befalling, it's not Hashem, it's mankind with their free will. It's not Hashem. And therefore he was able to separate all this negativity, all this evil that's happening to him. That's not Hashem. It's not Hashem. That is people. That has nothing to do with Hashem. And therefore he didn't lose the love of Hashem, his connection to Hashem. Later on in life, when he unfortunately sinned, he says, look, how Hashem loves his creation. He does so much for them, keeping them existing, giving them good lives, giving them all these abilities that they have. Hashem loves his creations. Even though I sin, I'm sure Hashem wants me back. And if Hashem wants me back, oh boy, am I coming back, because I love him. And that's what happened. And this is the story of Dovid HaMelech, one of the kings of Klal Yisrael, considered to be one of the holiest people. There's so much to learn. And it's just, every time we think of Dovid HaMelech, it's just perplexes the mind just to understand, just to have a little inkling into how he came to his level, how it happened, and how nothing seemed to faze him. Yes, he would get emotional about the situation. He would cry to Hashem, but it didn't push him away from Hashem. It just made him even closer. And this is the story of David HaMelech. It's just so huge, so much to learn. Each Tehillim, how he writes, how he talks to Hashem, the wisdom that he gives is for all time. May we all be zeicha, may we all merit to be disciples of David HaMelech. Love you all. Have a wonderful day.